Welcome to Jim's Take. We have a guest again today from across the pond. I always bring good guests, and I always bring these wonderful guests from Ireland and Northern Ireland and that nice little pocket right at the edge of Europe because they're brilliant and they're smart and they give a very nice perspective on just the way we wish to be. And so I'm very excited to have the founder of Joyful Spaces, Sharon McNulty, is here. You know, often on, we'll introduce her in a minute, but let me tell you why I wanted to have Sharon on the show. We often talk on this podcast about the stuff you need to do to adapt to change, to prepare for change and all that stuff. And there's a physical component, there's a mental component, there's certainly a social component. So I don't know if you saw the interview we just did with Janine from Brya on the need for social interaction. We've got the community conversation with Sam Kelly. We've got the mental kind of fitness work that we've done with a number of different types of guests. But a lot of that are the things that are within you, right? And the decisions you have to make in order to do that. But one thing we've never done on this podcast is talk about the physical environment in which we try to make our decisions. And that's why I was so excited to have Sharon on the show. I am a big throw everything in the garbage, get rid of it, live with, this incredible simplicity, Henry David Thoreau, go, go, go. And there was a little spark a few years ago with Marie Kondo in terms of, creating, good spaces and stuff like that. And I know that there's a big need for it. And so rather than just talk about the need, let's bring in the expert. And so that brings us to Sharon McNulty, Joyful Spaces. Thank you for being here. Introduce yourself, please.
Oh, what an introduction. How could I ever come back with that? So my name is Sharon McNulty, founder of Joyful Spaces, as you say, and I am a multi-award winning professional organiser with clients all over the world. So I am a master level certified coach, and that means that I have been trained under Marie Kondo, and I have now the equivalent of a black belt in organising your home and your business.
A black belt in organization is, you're speaking my language. This is exactly what, especially as the parent of 2 children, exactly what we need. So tell me, black belt organization, tell me more.
Oh, I hear you. If that's me today, and if you were to come into my home now, my home is beautiful. It's so well organised, and as you step in through the front door, there's the most beautiful energy. But it wasn't always like that. And if I was to take you back about 15, 16 years ago, I was a busy single mum of 3 children, and I was frantically spinning plates. And I spent my whole time trying to keep on top of the house, raise my children and work. And I knew life didn't have to be that difficult. It was the home was really taking most of my energy, because I would take a big splurge of organising, tidying, but it would never stay tidy. And I knew there had to be a different way. So I came upon Marie Kondo, as she said, and she had this fabulous book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and I thought, okay, I need to do something. I don't know what it is, but I need to. So I put into action what she had written about. And Jim, it transformed my life. It transformed my life in ways that I can't even begin to tell you. So much so that I went off then to be trained by her, because I knew this was magic.
So, all right, why did you need it? Like, let's relate to people, because I feel like, and I get incredibly frustrated in my house when there's absolute chaos all around, and that's what happens. And I work from home. A lot of people are working from home now, so we need this environment that's just cleaned up. And I'm more of the I will take all of these kids' toys and just throw them in the garbage, and they probably won't even notice. But it's not just throwing everything away, it's also just getting organized. Talk to me about, why did you need it? What challenges were you ultimately facing rather than just a frustration? And what benefits have you seen so far?
Oh my goodness. So I had a large house, but boys a dear, I filled that house. I had every cupboard filled to capacity. And because I had very little money in those days, it was a lack mentality. It was just in case I needed it again. In order to throw it out, it would be a waste. So I was actually hanging my clothes up in the wardrobe in the closet. I could barely get them in. I was squeezing them in, yet whenever I was going out at night, I had nothing to wear. Or whenever I was looking for something, I was maybe looking for a piece of paper, and I knew it was there somewhere, but it would have taken me 20, 25 minutes to find it. I was so super organised that I had sub categories in folders. I was never going to find something. So the frustration of not being able to find what you need, first of all, the irritation knowing that it's there somewhere but not being able to find it, and the embarrassment. I didn't want anybody coming in and thinking, oh my goodness me, look at the shape of the house.
Yeah.
And yet nobody would. But I know from working with clients now that is so common. It's not that we want an Instagrammable house, but we want a home that we can be proud of. And I believe everyone deserves that.
I love that. A home you could be proud of. I hope my wife listens to this podcast, because finding something or trying to find something that's not in the place where it's supposed to be drives me bananas. It's bad. If the scissors just disappear all the time. And I like what you said, the lack mentality. It's, I joke. Well, I don't actually joke. People ask me, if you ever won the lottery, what's the first thing you would buy? And I say, I wouldn't buy anything. I would just throw everything away, because I just don't need it. And I feel like we hold on to these things because one day I might need, 500 pens or whatever kind of ridiculous thing that we've got sitting in the house. How do you talk to me a little bit about getting past this. I mean, how do you, give me just a philosophy of a joyful space and the difference of stuff and managing space versus stuff.
Okay, so really interesting you mentioned stuff. Initially, I thought organising your home was really about finding a space for stuff. It's not actually. It's about, organising your home is really about how we think about, how our emotions are about the things we have, how our things make us feel. The overwhelm, the frustration, the irritation, the annoyance. And really what this is, it's not about having a perfect home, it's about having a system that works. So the likes of you, Jim, with 2 wee ones, 2 young children, it's about having a system where everybody in the house, even the youngest, knows where to put things, and they put it back whenever they're finished. And that's the beauty of it. And that's the bit my clients will say that'll never happen.
Yeah,
I just know it'll never happen.
Yeah, forget it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I have to say, 3 years and up, we would, and this strikes fear into the hearts of every parent, but we like them to be involved in this process. Because if you think about it, if your child, anybody's child, is keeping only what they absolutely love, they're going to look after it.
Yeah.
You're teaching them life skills for life. So, but the time they have grown, they're able to head off onto university or set up home on their own, and it's no problem to them. And they're able to make good decisions because they're deciding when things don't really matter. So when they get to the big decisions that they make in life, they can make them easily.
What about this? And this is something I've spoken to my wife about a lot, and not on the show or anything, but the psychology of abundance. I feel like there is just so much, and we've got this amazing email chain in our neighborhood where if somebody's getting rid of something, they put it on the curb and they email all the neighbors and say, FYI, we're done with this little play kitchen. If anybody wants it, help yourself.
Love that.
And we've got tons of stuff from neighbors, which is amazing. We've got a jungle gym in the backyard and one of the kitchens, and we've got all this stuff. And when we're done with it, we give it out to the neighborhood, and it's a great way to recycle and all that stuff. But as I was looking around, it's, we also got boxes of Barbies from a neighbor who just dropped them off for us, and we just don't need all that stuff. And so is there something there's something more than just stuff bringing you joy. I think it's about this philosophy of abundance and simplicity.
Yeah.
Where do you come in on something like that? Because I feel like you're teaching almost a less consumerist mindset in some kind of way, where you're embracing the simplicity and I mean, I could go also deeper into, once you get rid of your stuff, you're forced to go outside and do more things and experience more life, and it snowballs into something bigger. But talk to me a little bit about your philosophy on abundance.
Oh, what a great question. So, abundance, quite often we go and we buy something because of that shiny red button. We feel it's the dopamine hit. We feel we need it, we want it. And by the time we get home, we don't particularly need it or want it, and there's buyer's regret. And the same whenever somebody gives you something. So the likes of your neighbours who very kindly hand over items. And the beauty in what you're actually doing within your neighbourhood is you're only taking the things that you need. So those people who want that Barbie kitchen will take it. But you would find in other spaces, in other places, a lot of clients would say to me, my sister-in-law is very kind and she comes over with 2 big black bin bags full of clothes.
Yeah.
My heart sinks
Yeah.
because I feel I need to hold on to all those clothes. So again, that's just the opposite way. And what I would actually say to people is only take what you want and then hand the rest over to charity, to somebody else who really needs it. But definitely, it's the swing effect, isn't it, really, between lack and abundance? And it's not about it. What we're doing is we're trying to make ourselves feel better by having these items in our home. And that's really, we really need to start from within.
How do you get your head over? So, my parents recently downsized.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't need the house, and we were helping them do it. And they, all the kids rallied, all 6 of us, to help them move. And there was just so much.
Oh, yeah.
And they were amazing. Like, we've got the stuff. Everybody just take it. And and my standard answer is, I don't want it. Right? I just don't want it. I don't want any of, I just don't want stuff. And they knew that. And it's good. But what do you tell people who, I've got so many things, and I've had so many things that this was my great grandmother. Right?
The sentimental.
Right? How do I can't look at my mother and say I threw away something that was her grandmother's, but it's just collecting dust. Like, there's no value to it other than sentimental. What's that balance for people? Because there is a value to sentimental kind of stuff. But how do you, because that can get big very quickly.
Oh, and then if everything's really important, nothing's important. So what we say is, what we do is, it's a process, it's a system, and we want to surround ourselves with beautiful items, things that bring joy to our lives, or things that we need, and anything else we let go of. So the likes of sentimental, you could fill your house with sentimental items, but a lot of people feel overwhelmed with it because they don't particularly like it. They just feel the need to keep it because it was their granny's, or definitely that can bring a lot of frustration. What we suggest is, don't deal with them at the start. So once you're starting your tidying journey, you're organising, leave that to the very end. And I promise, if you do that, you will make excellent decisions. It's only whenever you start with those sentimental items, either like you'll think, oh, just let them all go. And then there is a bit of regret often then, or you want to keep them all. And generally people then keep them in the attic, where it's not, that doesn't spark joy if they're in the attic.
That's where all of mine are. They're
there you
old
go.
Mugs and like beer mugs and but that was my grandfather's beer mug, and that's right. How do I
I know.
That's tough.
So it does, in answer to your question, it really does get a lot easier. So if you think you're going through your clothes, your books, your paperwork, all the miscellaneous things in your home, and then your granda's jug, then you can decide, do I really love it? By the time you've made all those decisions in your home, that's going to be easy. It really is.
There's a move. You're not talking about minimalism.
Oh, no.
Right? And I think that's when most people think about when I'm going to simplify, I go minimalistic.
Yeah.
Like the one guy, I forget his name now, James, someone, he has 12 possessions, including his clothes, right?
Oh,
like that
bless
kind of
us.
stuff.
No.
But that's not what you're talking about. And I feel like a lot of the organizational systems and ideas and getting things away, there's a big catharsis to it. But this move towards minimalism in design and in your home, it takes away character. And so you do have some kind of input on the character you wish your home to have. How much work does that take? Do you have to be really intentional, or do you just kind of let it flow and just say, well, this has just ended up being the character of my home because these are the things that I like? How do you approach that kind of thing?
Yeah, because it can very easily become sterile, and you don't want that. Think about how you feel whenever you go away on holidays to a hotel room. There is generally a bit of homeliness, a bit of comfort, and it's very easy to feel relaxed in that because there's not a lot of possessions. But if you were to go somewhere where it was totally sterile, it wouldn't have the same impact. So what we would actually do is we keep the things we love and need and use, find a space for them, get a system, and then whenever we have that, we put life back into the home. So then is whenever we put the I suppose the special items that we love, that just lighter soul whenever we see them out there. So yes, initially we don't have a lot. I don't like to fill a space just for the sake of filling a space. I like to be intentional about what's going there. But it has to have a reason for that. Either it makes your heart sing, it's lovely to look at, or it's the best place for it because it makes life easier.
So is that how you kind of approach this? As you're going to take a room, we're going to empty it completely, and then we're very intentional with how it comes back together. Is that how you strip it down, make it sterile, but then build it in your particular way?
Oh, 100%. But we don't do room by room. We do category by category, and I'll explain why, Jim. But definitely, because if you think about weeding a garden, when you're weeding a garden, if you only ever take the heads off the weeds, they'll keep coming back. You really want to take them out from the root. So that's in essence, really what you're doing. You're taking it out from the root, and therefore you're not having to do this again in the same way. You should only ever have to do this once in your entire life in this way. You will have to maintain it, but that in itself is very easy.
It's not the big kind of work.
No.
And so do you do it by category instead of room simply because you're not getting the symptom? It's more of you're just dealing with this room, but you've got the other problem in the next room?
Well, if you think about how many coats you have, well, not you, Jim, because you're different.
There's two coats, that's all you need.
I knew that. So if you think of it, I have a client who had her interior designer got me in because she loved clothes, and for me that's important. For somebody who loves clothes, they have to be able to keep as many as they want. So it's not about getting rid of things, but we need to be intentional about where it's going. So we took all her coats out. So there was coats in her wardrobe, coats in her children's wardrobes, coats downstairs in the downstairs porch, the front porch, the car, the mobile home, the holiday home. So you never really get an idea of how many coats you have whenever you're like that. So when we are doing it, we're going to bring all the coats together, and then and only then decide, do you love it? Do you need it? So you go through that criteria. Does it spark joy? And then you decide to let go of the ones that you don't need with gratitude.
My wife loves shoes.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need more than 4 pairs of shoes.
You do.
How do you change the psychology on the fact that, 50 pairs of shoes are just too many shoes? Gab, I hope you're listening.
I'm sorry, Jim, but I think if you love 50, now, if they fit into the criteria, so this is where a lot of people buy storage, think if I only had the right storage, my home would be sorted.
Right.
So they go off to the storage container shop and they buy and squeeze all the items in, and it'll never stay tidy. So when you think of 50 shoes, what you're doing is you're taking them all out and then going through that category, that criteria for that particular category, and then deciding, oh yes, I really do. I love every one of them. You will find whenever you change it to I'm keeping the ones you absolutely love, you let go of a lot more. If you're starting to organise your home and you're thinking about, or whatever space, thinking about, I have to give these away, you'll want to hold on to them. So
that's a nice flip. So it's focused on the ones that you're going to keep, not the ones you're going to, I have to find 5 to get rid of.
And the interesting thing is, whenever you flip it like that, you end up letting go with it of a lot more. That's how I get children to let go of their toys. You flip it to, this is exciting, look at what you're able to keep, the beautiful things. They let it go with love, not a bother.
Yeah, I love that. How about if you're in an apartment versus a home? Because the needs don't change, or do they? Maybe they do, but I feel like fundamentally you need 3 pairs of shoes, you need 2 coats, a warm one and a not warm one. You need 5 shirts, 5 pairs of pants, and you're finished.
We hear you.
You're going to have a lot of empty space in your home.
Yeah.
Do you then fill it in with just character, or do you just leave it blank? What's the difference between an apartment versus a home, and how do you approach those two?
It's exactly the same thing. So I have, as I say, gone all over the world, and it doesn't matter what size a person's home is, whether it's a studio apartment or a 9-bedroom home, they have the same difficulties. The clutter, just the disorganization, the mess, the disorder. And so it doesn't matter what size it is, we tend to fill it. If you have a bigger house, we tend to fill it. So you're right, they will buy more to put into it generally. But if you're thinking about a studio apartment or somewhere like in the likes of Manhattan, that in the centre here, what I would suggest you do is be intentional about what you're keeping. You can't keep it everything, you really can't. But by the same token, if you get the right system, you will absolutely be able to make it work for you. And sometimes it's even just the changing of the furniture and the layout. The logistics of getting that energy flow will make a huge difference.
Right, so there's a design component too, not just a stuff component. Sure, right. It's a joyful
that's a big
space.
thing, actually.
Yeah,
That's a big thing.
Interesting. How do you help people? It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Or it can be overwhelming. It's very heavily emotional. It's a lot of stuff from a lot of different places. It's no matter how many categories you have, you're like, where do I begin and all that stuff. How do you help people find that balance between this is good for me or just getting them to the finish line of just accepting and moving forward?
Yeah, this is overwhelming. And if you look at the physiological changes in our body whenever we're surrounded by mess or disorganization, what happens is our cortisol or our stress hormone rises so high that we are now put in fight, flight or freeze. And that's why a lot of people will open the door, think, oh, no, and close it. And in their mind, they're probably thinking, I feel lazy, I couldn't be bothered. But this is actually your body surviving that mess, because your brain's having to go, I need to do this, and this, and all of a sudden it becomes overwhelmed. You become burnt out and you don't even make a start. So what we would suggest you do is, whenever you're at that stage, just start. Just start and you will feel so much better. But definitely that overwhelm is real.
There are so many times when working from home, I just can't get anything done.
Yeah,
right? And it is.
yeah.
I mean, I never thought about it in terms of fight or flight or freeze, but
Yeah.
you're frozen.
That's
because
it.
and all the work just goes out the window. Like, I just have to clean up, and I have to clean my office. It's becoming a dumping ground, and I have to move this, and I'll blame the kids and my wife for it, but it's also my fault too. I admit that. What advice would you give to people to just get started? I mean, do they pick one category and just kind of test it out? Do you go the full racket? How do you begin? Well,
I would suggest you do no organising at the start, and please don't buy anything. Don't buy anything. No storage. What you do is you gather all your coats and put them in the same place. All your tops, all your jumpers, all your books. And if you did nothing else for now, that's a great start. And you feel you're actually doing something. But you're not. And then this will make it so much easier whenever you're starting it, for sure. And that's just even getting started. And then start with, maybe put all your coats on the bed and think. And the reason I'm focusing on clothes, I actually work with businesses and that's what I do. But the reason I'm focusing on clothes is that's where we would start in the home. Clothes, and then you do your books, and then your paperwork, and then miscellaneous, and then your sentimentals. But if you're doing it in your home, put all your coats on your bed and decide which ones then, following the criteria, and let the rest go with love. And just do category by category by category.
So you bring up an interesting point. Home and work are very, very different places, or they're one and the same. So when you talk about the workplace, are you talking, tell me about an office versus a home, and then an office within a home, and how do you manage that?
Oh, this is so interesting actually, Jim, because whenever I started this, I didn't understand the depth of it. A lot of people, whenever they're thinking about organising, thinking it's just rearranging the dishcloths, which it's so much deeper than that. And whenever I went in to help clients in their home office, that's how I actually got started in it, in the businesses, I quickly realised that these business owners that were working from their home office were actually losing a lot of money. They were hemorrhaging money. They were being overwhelmed. They were procrastinating. They weren't being as productive or efficient. And so I thought, right, okay, that can easily move to the business. So then I started to do a lot of research and done a lot of training into how I could actually bring what I do in homes into the business world. And what I do is I go in as a consultant and just have a look to see what happens within a business. And every business There's research that shows every business pays their team, their staff, at approximately 5 weeks' wages just to look for stuff every single year.
Wow.
So if you think from a cost point of view, that's 5 weeks for every person working on the team every single year. So of course this makes so much sense to organise your space and put a system in. So I'm all about ease and flow. So if you're going to do something all the time, what's the easiest way to do that?
Yes.
And that's what we look at. What can be streamlined so that it's more efficient and more productive, and of course ultimately that saves the money.
I love it. There's so much.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to come to my house and help me,
I
help us
know.
all. It's such a. I love it. Look, this is. It's so important. I think it is so important, especially as when, like I said at the top, things change so quickly. You need to be at your best, and your physical environment helps you be at your best. And it's such an overlooked component. Everything down to staying neat, like making your bed, to where things are going so you can find things and you feel, I feel like happiness is when you're in control, or you feel like you're in control. And when your place is a mess, you don't feel like you're in control.
Yeah, very much so.
How can people find you? What's next for you? Tell us more.
Yeah, so my business is Joyful Spaces, as I say. So you will find me on Instagram and Facebook under Joyful Spaces. My website is joyfulspaces with one L.co.uk, and and on LinkedIn it's Sharon McNulty. So what I would say, I suppose I would love people to hear, regardless of where you're starting from, regardless how messy or overwhelmed you feel, please don't feel that you can't move forward. Reach out. I will get you started. I'll give you a couple of tips to get you started, and you will feel so much better. You really will. This isn't anybody's fault. It's the body's way of surviving what a messy environment does to it.
And you can recognize it and you can move forward. And for those in New York, I'm working. She's going to be moving here for 6 months out of the year. So she'll be taking care of all your places. It's going to be excellent.
I know.
Sharon, this is great. This is such
Jen.
good advice. Thank you so much for all of this. I wish everyone, especially with the holidays coming up, this is so timely because we're about to just throw everything away and just fill it back up with the Santa Claus dump.
And please do not do that. Be intentional about what you're buying and ask, would that person buy it themselves?
Very good.
Go for an experience.
Buy experiences. Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you. And
Thank
thank you for paying attention and listening in. Check out Sharon's site. Check out her work. And I know it'll be beneficial for you. So thank you as always. And I will talk to everybody soon. Thanks.
Thank you.